Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. In this video today, I'm going to be giving you guys a quick verb endings review. After you watch this video, go ahead and answer the questions I put in on the Google form. A lot of you are really good with your verb endings, and that's fine. So then this should just be some reinforcement for you. If you're struggling with verb endings or you never really got them, well, in this one, I go pretty slow and tell you what the point of Latin changing its verb endings are. So it's a good chance to remember something that you had trouble with in the first place, or get to learn something that you had trouble with in the first place. So let's go. Okay, I'm just going to read you these sentences that I wrote. When people are talking to one another, they always need to make it clear just who or what they are talking about, or conversations would be really, really confusing. If I was talking to you and you didn't know what I was talking about or who I was talking about, you'd be really confused. So, the English language makes it really clear who you are talking about by using words like I, or you, or he, or she, or it. I walk, you sleep, he reads. That's how English makes this idea clear. Each of these words tells you who or what I'm talking about. But, well, for example, if I say, I run, then you get one picture in your head. But if I say he runs, then you get a different picture in your head, right? Good. Now, in the Latin language, instead of using separate words like I or you, we usually just change the ending on the action word or the verb. Verb is an action word. So in Latin, we change the ending on the verb. For example, the guy below is sitting and he wants to talk about himself. So this guy just wants to say, I sit, just cuz. Well, in Latin he says sedeo. So I sit, sedeo. In the next example, the person speaking is standing up, but he wants to say something about the person in front of him. He wants to say something about who he's talking to. So in this example, this guy is talking, and he's talking to this guy. So he says, you sit. We went from I sit to you sit. In Latin, he says, sedes. Sedes. You sit. So, instead of using a new separate word, he just changes the O ending to an S ending. Sedeo, sedes. So we can say so far that O means I and S means you. Let's look at another example. This is just a different word. So this guy's talking about himself. He wants to say, I smile. In Latin, he says, rideo. Rideo, I smile. And when he's talking to someone, so he's talking, but he wants to talk about this guy who's right in front of him. So he wants to say, you smile. In Latin, he says, rides. Rides. You smile. So, rideo, I smile. Rides. You smile. Great. But what if you wanted to talk about someone else? For example, a guy named Bob. All right, in this picture here, this guy's talking, and he's talking to his friend here, but he wants to say something about Bob. And Bob's over here in his house, and he's not a part of the conversation. So, he cannot say Bob said Deo, because we already know said Deo means I sit. He also cannot say Bob sedes, because we already know sedes means you sit. And he's not talking to Bob, he's saying something about Bob. He is talking about Bob. So, he has to use a different ending, a T ending. So he says, Bob sedet. Bob sedet. And this is how he says, Bob sits. Not Bob sedeo, not Bob sedes, but Bob sedet. So the T ending just shows that you are talking about someone or something else. In English, the words we use for someone or something else are he or she or it. So we can say that O means I, S means you, T means he or she or it. O means I, S means you, T means he or she or it. So here's an example. A whole word. Amo, I love. Amas, you love. Amat, he, she, or it loves. And one more example. Edo, I eat. Edis, you eat. Edit, he, she, or it eats. And one more note. When we use the T ending, the word means he, she, or it. The ending means he, she, or it. But if we give a specific thing, we make it specific who we're talking about or what we're talking about. For example, let's say Bob. Then we don't have to say he, she, or it in our English sentence, but we do still have to use a T ending. What do you mean by that, Mr. Patak? Well, let's look here. In this sentence, it's the same setup we had before. This guy's talking. He's saying something about this guy, so he can just say sedet. He sits. If it was a girl, it could be she sits. It could be anything, or it could even be an it. Maybe he was talking about a dog or something. But if we include a specific he or she or it, let's say he now says Bob, and we know he's talking about Bob because he uses the word Bob. Well, he says Bob sedet. He says Bob sits. Notice how we don't have to say Bob he sits. The word that you're being specific takes over the he or the she or the it, and you don't need to use he or she or it anymore. Okay, so that's simple OST pattern. Next time I'm going to review the next pattern, because each of these ideas can be more than one. There can be more than one I, that would be a we in English. There can be more than one you. That would be a you all. And there could be more than one person that you're talking about. That would be a they. And we will review that in our next video. So hopefully you guys were pretty good on this already, but now when you're done, go ahead and watch the Google form that I put up with this video. Thanks guys. I'll see you later. Bye. Wale.